Sahanam Bhavatu Sahanam Punaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Together we'll chant Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verses 1 to 10.
Arjuna uvacha prakritim purusham chaiva kshetram kshetrajñameva cha etadveditumicchami jnanam jneyam cha keshava Shri Bhagavanuvacha idam shariram kaunteya kshetramityabhidhiyate etadyo vetti tam prahuhu kshetrajña iti tadvidaha kshetrajñam chapi mam vidhi sarvakshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetrajñayor jnanam yattajnanam matam mama tatshetram yaccha yadrikcha yadvikari yatascha yat sacha yo yat prabhavascha tatsamasena me shrinu ऋषिभिर्बहुधा गीतम् छन्दोभिर्विविधैः पृथक् ब्रह्मसूत्रपदैश्चैव हेतुमद्भिर्विनिश्चितैः महाभूतान्यहङ्कारः बुद्धिरव्यक्तमेव च इन्द्रियाणि दशैकं च पञ्चचेन्द्रियगोचराः इच्छा द्वेषः सुखं दुःखं सङ्घातश्चेतनाधृतिः एतत् क्षेत्रं समासेन सविकारमुदाहृतम् अमानित्वमदम्भित्वम् अहिंसा क्षान्तिरार्जवम् आचार्योपासनं शौचं स्थैर्यमात्मविनिग्रहः इन्द्रियार्थेषु वैराग्यम् अनहङ्कार एव च जन्म मृत्युजरा व्याधिः दुःखदोषानुदर्शनम् असक्तिरनभिष्वङ्गः पुत्रदारगृहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्टोपपत्तिषु
Deepraj, you have a question?
Yes, can you hear me? Am I audible? I have a general question. We say that we get whatever we deserve because it is the result of the vasanas, the cause and effect, right?
Result of the actions we have performed.
We have performed. Okay. So my question is, when others also have free will, other humans also have free will, and the actions that they perform, they may perform using their free will, which means it is outside of their vasanas. So if that affects me, how is the cycle, how is that something that I deserve? Because that is outside the whole vasana thing.
Not sure why you're bringing free will in. Whether or not they do it out of vasana or free will, it can affect you. So why is free will coming into the issue? It throws a bucket of water on you, it affects you. Now, why does it matter whether it's free will or vasanas? Why does that come into the discussion?
I will think about it. Thank you.
Okay, I don't mean to remove your question, but go step by step. We get what we deserve. This line means that I perform some actions, and the consequence of those actions is what I am getting now. Your question is that I'm no doubt getting consequences of my action, but I'm getting consequences of other people's actions also. That's your question, right? So then why bring in everything else?
Because say if it is from their vasanas, then I've affected their vasanas, which has resulted in me getting that action. But if my action has not affected, I mean, it has affected their vasanas, but this action that they're performing on me is not affected by their vasanas. So it doesn't have a cause and effect link that brings the cause back to me.
I see. Okay, no, you need not worry about that at all, because firstly, there is no action which is 100% free will and 100% vasanas. Every action is a combination of them both. But it is not to be taken at a practical level at all. It's only a theoretical sort of putting the piece in place. Otherwise, the whole thing will crumble. So as far as we are concerned, it is possible that somebody with his vasanas does something to you that you have not caused. So that's where you're coming from. You are walking down the street. Somebody got drunk at some party. Okay, his car knocked you down. There's no action of yours which has caused him to drink and knock you down and all of that. So all you're trying to do is segregate your own action from his action. That's all you're trying to do, right? That you can do without all that. So you say, I was just walking down the street on the footpath. I'm not even crossing the road. And yet this guy comes on, like, some people, they drink and drive, and then poor people are just sleeping on the footpath, and then they drive over them. What has that poor person done, poor fellow? He's just sleeping. Right? So, uh, yes, in answer to your question, yes, it is possible that things happen to us for which we see no direct cause and effect relationship between our actions and those things. This is a possibility. Right? So many things can happen all the time. I didn't do anything particularly for COVID, but it came on to me, right? So all the time we seem to be experiencing the effects of other people's actions. That is an acceptable statement. Now, when we say that our troubles are caused by ourselves and not by others, the meaning of this statement is, we get what we deserve. The meaning of this statement is that suppose there's a very hot tempered person. Okay, he's so hot tempered and he's frustrated with his life. So whoever he meets, he's rude to. He'll shout, he'll be rude, he'll say, You're such a horrible person. Okay, he meets us, we get very upset. How dare you talk to me? You have your problems, you keep them at home. How dare you speak to me like that? Right? We will be affected. This same person behaving in exactly the same way meets Buddha. Now, Buddha will get what he deserves. He deserves absolute peace. There's nothing this man can do that can take his peace away. So, when someone can take my peace away, I am getting what I deserve. What I deserve because I still have those desires which he is now capable of interrupting. So, if I want to get the peace that Buddha gets, I must get his complete absence of desires. Then I will get the natural consequence of my desires. Okay, this is at the mental level, at the physical level also. Okay, we wanted to start this trust, and that was the time of COVID when we were trying to start it. Okay, whole thing went into cold storage, right? Because how can you start it now, right? But you get what you deserve means that you don't say, oh, now God is not letting me start this trust. It mustn't be, it's so tough. I give it up. Then you get what you deserve. If you persist in the face of every obstacle, then you get what you deserve, which is success. So it works both at the mental level as well as the physical level. Everything is not going to be conducive to us. Every now and then, things will happen in our life. We have to take it in our stride and move on. Okay?
Thank you.
So he explained to us, Arjuna's question was, what is Kshetra? What is Kshetragni? What is Prakriti? What is Purusha? He is explaining, he began with the explanation of Kshetra and Kshetragni. So you remember our formula? Kshetra plus Kshetragnya is equal to Aditi. Kshetra plus Kshetragnya is equal to Aditi. Very good. Now, Momita, who is the Kshetragnya?
The self, I.
I. Don't say the self. I. Elsie. Who is the Kshetra? You're muted.
Matter.
Yeah. Say what is the matter?
BMI.
Body, mind, and intellect. Very good. So you all are all on top of this. Everybody has got this much. We are all clear on this. Or are these only the three brilliant ladies in class? Everybody has got it, right? Spirit plus matter is equal to the individual. Kshetra plus Kshetrajna is equal to the Jiva. Okay? English, Marathi, Hindi, whichever language you want, you can get this thing in. Sanskrit, Kshetra plus Kshetrajna is equal to the Jiva. Any language, but get that right. Now, he says, O Bharata, know me as the Kshetrajna. That means I am Kshetrajna. Whenever the prophet uses first person singular, I, he is referring to the self. The self is the Kshetrajna. You may say, why doesn't he say the self is Kshetrajna? Why does he say, I am Kshetrajna? Because now everybody says Krishna is Kshetrajna. The reason he says I is because that's the truth. Krishna is not Kshetrajna. I is the Kshetrajna. When Krishna speaks, since he knows that he is the self, he says I, obviously. Whenever you use the word I, you're meaning something about yourself. You say, I am hot, means my body. You're talking about your body. Say, I am smart. You're talking about your intellect. So whenever you say I, you're referring to something which you believe you are. Krishna knows that he is God. So he says I. Every prophet has used the first person singular. So they all say the same thing. Come to me, I alone will save you. Meaning, come to the self alone will save you. Now you start chasing Krishna and Christ and Muhammad. Why are you chasing them? The same I in them, same I in every one of us. Don't chase them, chase that I, because that I alone is that truth. So he said, know me as Kshetrajna. Know me as the one who is the knower of the Kshetra. In this knowledge of Kshetra and Kshetrajna, etatjnana, it is considered to be knowledge. Later on, he's going to give a fabulous definition of knowledge. But remember this one also. What is true knowledge is knowing the Kshetra and the Kshetrajna, knowing who you are and knowing who you are not. We'll go back to the example of this rope and the snake. When you see a snake, where there is a rope, true knowledge is not knowing the snake is long and dark and curled and over here and over there. It's not knowledge. Knowledge is knowing that that snake is a rope. That is knowledge. All the knowledge in the world that you create in the dreaming state of consciousness, when you're dreaming, you know so many things. But none of them are knowledge. What is knowledge? Only when you wake up. Because then you know what that really is. For instance, you have a friend in your dream. You're sleeping, you're dreaming. You have a friend in your dream. So somebody asks you, do you know that man? You say, yes, I know that man. Say, is he a good man? Yes, he's a very good man. He's a man of great character and he knows so much. He's so knowledgeable and he's a man of such great character. And the other person in the dream says, are you sure? Are you sure you know this about him? They say, of course. I have known him for 40 years, and 40 years I have seen how well he has behaved in every aspect of life. You're so sure of that knowledge. And yet, when you wake up, there is no man asking about that man. There is no friend. There is no dreamer. True knowledge is knowing that none of this was there at all. That's true knowledge. But when you're in the dream, you cannot understand this. How can you understand it? It's impossible. You will say, yes, I'm so sure. He is my friend. I have known him for 40 years, and I will assure you he's a very good man. And yet, what you tell, even though you believe you're telling the truth, what you are speaking is a lie. For that man does not exist. And you haven't known him for 40 years because a dream is only 2 minutes old. And you've known him for 40 years. What 40 years? You yourself now are not 40 years. But you've known him for 40 years. So, what is knowledge? Is this distinction between the Kshetra and the Kshetrajna. To take it on a more relative level, knowledge is an understanding of the facts of life. As long as you know the facts of life, you know. Otherwise, you're merely Google. People can come to you and ask you a few questions, you'll tell them the answer. Are you attempting to be Google? Oh, I know everything. I know how much the share market has gone up now. I know when it will come down. I know what was the score that Kapil Dev made in the World Cup in 1980, whatever it was. What?
83.
1983. 1983. I know what Kapil Dev scored. All this is not knowledge. Knowledge is
To understand the facts of life.
knowing who I am. That's knowledge. That's all there is to it. If I think I'm Aditi, I do not have knowledge. If I think I'm Momita, I do not have knowledge. I will have knowledge when
I realize.
when I know I am the self. I will have knowledge. People are very satisfied with their knowledge and wisdom, unfortunately, in this world. So, that knowledge, she said. What is this? Jayachandran. Dreams can't be recalled, it is temporary knowledge. Exactly what it is right now, Jayachandran. It's the same thing, it's no difference. We think over there that I know, and that same feeling of I know is over here. What is the difference? Seems just the same. So, the knowledge of Kshetrajna and Kshetra, that knowledge is knowledge. That knowledge is considered by me to be knowledge. Very interesting how he does all this. So, just briefly go through the concept of Shruti and Smriti. Shruti means eternal principles. Smriti means what you have heard, means what you have remembered. Shruti means what you have heard. Smriti means what you remember. You remember what you have been told versus hearing the voice of your own conscience, your own understanding. So, Shruti is eternal principles, something true for all people at all times. Smriti is true for some people at some times. All religions are Smriti. These are the opinions of the Prophet given to a certain group of people in a certain period of time for their welfare and derived from the Shruti. Like your doctor gives you a prescription which is designed for your welfare, is particularly applicable only to you at that place and at that time, is not applicable to all people at all time or even to you at all times, but it is derived from the entire knowledge of medicine, which is common to all people at all. Right? So, when he says, Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi, mam kshetrajnam vidhi, know me to be the Kshetrajna. This is Shruti. The capacity to divide the Kshetra and the Kshetrajna is known as knowledge, that is Smriti. Because why is it Smriti? Because this phraseology is of interest or application only to intellectuals. Why intellectuals? Because it is the intellect's role to do what? One word.
Discriminate.
Discriminate.
Very good, excellent. Gosh, this class is getting so smart because it is the role of the intellect to discriminate. So any discrimination is for the intellect. The body doesn't discriminate. The mind doesn't discriminate. It is only the intellect that discriminates. So it is not true for all people at all times. Because if you're being emotional and someone tells you Kshetra, Kshetrajna, you throw some Kshetra at that fellow and say, okay, let's see if you're Kshetrajna. Emotions will not handle this. Right? So therefore it comes as part of Smriti. Now, why Krishna is so charitable? In fact, the Bhagavad Gita is supposed to be a very charitable text. That's why it's referred to as mother. Because it's a Shruti. The text is Shruti. It's for eternal principles. But wherever he takes the slightest deviation from it, he will tell you that this is Matam. He's so clear about these things. Okay, now he's just giving us a very simple verse, which is verse 3. Oh, is there something I missed? Verse 3, anybody has any problems with? Pravesh. Objective knowledge can be Shruti and subjective can be Smriti. I don't know what you mean by this terminology, Pravesh. Objective knowledge usually means knowledge of the objective world. That means external to the individual. Subjective can usually mean subjective means from the mind. It's subjective to me, but need not be subjective, it need not be true for you. So both of these can be either. Your mind and my mind can view the world differently. That's why we call it subjective, because it's based on the subject. But if by subjective you mean the ultimate subject, which is the self, then that will be Shruti. Okay. Objective knowledge may be Shruti or it may be Smriti. For instance, the lift, the elevator going up and down, that is a Smriti. But the law of gravity is a Shruti. Because the law of gravity is true for all people at all times. But the principle of the elevator needs to be used only under certain conditions.
Ma'am, objective knowledge is not means that is same for everyone. Objective is not that means like that.
No, objective it depends on how you're using all this terminology. Some people use objective to mean about the object. That means like science. Some people use the word objective to mean that which comes from the intellect. Right? So don't change the terminology because everybody has their own terminology. So just understand Shruti and Smriti as it. If it is true for all people at all times under all conditions, it is Shruti, eternal principles, also known as Sanatana Dharma. If it is true only for some people at some times, but is based on this Shruti, then it becomes Smriti.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Bharat. At the relative level is assertion of self and denial of small self can be called true knowledge. At the relative level, the more unselfish you are, the more true knowledge there is. Now, this assertion of self and denial of small self is a very, what should I say, very frightening concept. Because it is easy enough to say, I am not the body, mind, intellect, I am the self. That part is easy. And that part is usually hypocritical. But if you genuinely mean it, which in most cases doesn't happen, then what you're saying is correct. But it's always better to be dedicated to something higher, which you yourself understand and live by. In which case, you are genuinely then denying the small self. Denying the small self means that you're willing to put something above your personal likes and dislikes. That you're willing to sacrifice what you would like to do for something that you think needs to be done. So that is the real denial of the small self. But just sitting at home and saying, I am the self, I'm not the small self, I mean, theoretically it's correct, but practically that's not really how it works, unfortunately, in the spiritual path. Most people go to that straight away, but that's not how it really works. It has to grow with unselfishness. If we are selfish, self centered people, if we cannot be sensitive to the needs of the people around us, yes, your maid has got fever, but you insist that she works. You can't be sensitive to needs. So she's had a fight with her husband at home and come and she's a bit, you can't be sensitive. I don't mean you have to pamper them, but you can't be sensitive to other people's needs. That means you can't register also that those people have those needs. And what denial of small self have we seen? So it has to be more realistic.
Yes, I mean, self-effort, of course, has to accompany the statement. But I thought the frightening concept will be to fall in love with unselfishness because you've completely lost track of the self then.
Yes, correct. That is also true. But then remember that then it doesn't fall under the denial of self. If your unselfishness, if you're staying at the level of unselfishness that you currently are, then it's not denial of the self, that's assertion of the self. Yes, no.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Meera, Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata, which is Smriti. So will Bhagavad Gita be classified as Shruti? Or is only the knowledge imparted in the text Shruti? Bhagavad Gita always comes under Shruti because Shruti, Vedanta is Shruti. So Vedanta's foundational three textbooks are Upanishads, Brahma Sutra, and Bhagavad Gita. So these three books are established as Shruti in the tradition all along. I mean that these three books are Shruti. That is why he takes the trouble to tell you that it is a Smriti whenever he tells you something. Because understood that it is Shruti. So, or is only the knowledge imparted in the text Shruti. Anything that is true for all people at all times becomes Shruti. So, in whatever way it is imparted, as long as it's true for all people at all times, it will become Shruti. All right, so next verse is merely an introductory verse. So let's do verse 4. Takshetram yacha yadrukcha yadvikari yatascha yad sacha yo yat prabhavascha tat samasena me shrunu tat kshetram yacha yadrukcha yadvikari yatascha yad sacha yo yat prabhavascha tat samasena me shrunu. Tat kshetram. So remember what he told us? He told you what the kshetragnya was. He said, kshetragnyam chapimam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. I should know this line by heart. Kshetragnyam chapimam vidhi. Where the Lord asserts that I am the kshetra. I am the kshetragnya. Now he's told you what is kshetragnya. So now he has to obviously tell you what is the kshetra. So tat kshetram yat yadruk. Yadruk means in what manner, in what way. How is this kshetra? Yad vikari. What are its vikar? What is its modification? Yataha chayat. Yataha means from where is it this thing come? What is it? What is it? How? What is its modification? What is it like? Sir, chas and yaha yat prabhavascha. What is its prabhava? What is his power? Tat samasena me shrunu. Tat samasena, samas means to brief, to make something smaller, to make it brief. So listen to me, listen to this in brief from me. Me shrunu, listen to me. Listen about this in brief. So he's only telling us, I am about to tell you about the kshetra. Now you may say, why is he telling me about the kshetra? The reason he's telling you about the kshetra is because there's no way he can tell you about kshetragnya. Kshetra, at least we will attempt to understand. Kshetragnya will go over our head. So he's following the principle of the known. He's going to tell us about the body, mind, and intellect. So now he's about to tell you something important. It's about to tell you about your own personality. So he's saying, listen, listen. Like, at the railway platform, before announcement, they will say, Suniye, Suniye, or something. Or at the airport, they'll say, your attention, please. This plane will depart from this terminal, blah, blah. All guests requested to go here, there, whatever they keep telling you all the time. So whenever people want to draw your attention to something, they will do something to draw your attention. That is all he is doing. He's just saying, okay, listen, listen, I'm about to tell you this. And I'm going to tell you in brief, because if he starts telling you the whole thing, he will start a course in physiology, psychology, everything he cannot do now. He's only going to tell us in brief, in a short way. And that leads us to verse 5, which is a very nice verse. I don't know what you will think about it, but this verse has always fascinated me. It's not particularly philosophical, but it's a very fascinating verse for what it does say. It doesn't say very much, but the fact that it says this itself is quite a bit. Rishibhir bahuda gitam Chandobhirvividai pruthak Brahma Sutra Padaishchaiva Hetum Nishchitaihi Rishibhir Bahudha Gitam Chandobhirvividai pruthak Brahma Sutra Padaishchaiva Hetumadbhirvinishchitaihi. Very, very simple verse, nothing very great in it, but it's one verse that is, at least I have always remembered. Rishibhir Bahuda Gitam. Rishibhir means by the rishis. Bahuda Gitam. In many ways. In many ways, Gitam. Gitam is sung of this in many ways. Chandobhihi, vividhaihi prathak. Chandobhihi is chanda. Chanda is the meters. So in various hymns, vividhaihi prathak, different and various. The rishis have sung of this. Means this is the appeal to the heart. They sing of it. They tell you in poetry, in rhythm, in beautiful words, and all different and distinct. Brahma Sutra Padaihi. By the Brahma Sutras. Hetumadbhihi. Hetumadbhihi means full of reason. Vinishchitaihi. Nishchit, certain. Vinishchit, Visheshena Nishchit means very certain. So, sung by the rishis in many ways. Rishis, who's a rishi? A rishi is a person who knows the truths of life, who's reflected and understood it. And he can sing of this. He's a kavi, he sings of it. He tells you in all these beautiful ways and language. And each of the rishi has told it to us in his own way, in his own style. And when we become rishis of our own accord, we will also speak of it in our own way and in our own style. one set of people. The other set of people, the Brahma Sutra Padehi. Brahma Sutra Padehi means by the precepts of the of Brahman. Hetu Vinishchitai, with very certain, very definite reason. So those who have understood the truth can communicate it to us in two ways. One is the way of the heart. When you read Ramcharitmanas or something like that, or Kabir ke Dohe, things like that. So many beautiful ways in which people before us have put this wonderful knowledge, full of music and chant, and has this amazing appeal to the heart. And then the other set of people, full of reason, full of certainty, full of talk of Brahman, talks directly to the intellect. So some people have spoken to us in the language of the heart. Some people have spoken to us in the language of the head. Mahesh, please note, and both of them are saying just the same thing. Whether you choose to love the Lord of your heart or to love the truth of your intellect, it all comes to the same thing. What is the meaning of precept? Aditi, you have to look it up. Open your dictionary, look up precept.
Actually, I did, but didn't understand it relative to this particular statement.
Okay, read it out.
It says a general rule intended to regulate behavior or thought.
So why is it not fitting?
It's not fitting in the sense I'm not getting the concept.
So why not? That's what I'm saying.
I'm not getting exactly what the shloka is trying to say.
Okay, so the Brahma Sutras means the general rules pertaining to Brahman. General rule in what sense? What are the facts of life? All these facts of life, when you live, you will eventually reach Brahman. For instance, desires cause agitations. This is a precept leading to Brahman. Okay, now why do you have this? Because you should know this intellectually? No, because it's supposed to affect your behavior. Means you don't say, okay, I'm going to remove my desires, not like that, or I'm not. Many people believe that since desires are the barrier to Brahman, therefore we should not do anything desirable. That's not correct. Is it clear? So the general rule, a precept is a general rule. So what's a general rule? All the Sanatana Dharma, all the whole of Shruti will become your general rules. Now that then has to influence your behavior. Because if it doesn't influence behavior, then why did you learn it in the first place? Okay, like suppose you know the rules of gravity or the rules of whatever, physics, but you're not building anything out of it, then what will you do with those rules? You can't be an engineer then, right? So, sung by sages in many ways, in various hymns, as also in distinctive precepts indicating Brahman, full of reason and certainty. Two distinct ways in which we are told. The Bhagavad Gita itself says that. Not only it says that, it does that. It gives you a form, it talks of formless. It gives you a form, it talks of formless. Now, Baba, make up your mind, form or formless. The fact is, it doesn't matter whether you want to worship form or you want to worship formless. That is not critical. What is critical is what are you doing about it? Are you doing your karma? Are you doing your bhakti? Are you doing your jnana? That is what is critical. Everything else is not critical. Nothing. If you're studying in the morning, that is critical. Are you living a life of unselfishness? That is critical. Is your mind inspired with the love of people around you? That is critical. Everything else is a non-essential. And that's what he's trying to get at. So it's not a very difficult verse. This verse is very simple. But it's a very, what should I say? It's an important thing for us to register. Somebody is Hindu, somebody is Muslim, somebody is Christian, somebody is Zoroastrian. This is not critical. What is critical is who's the human being you are. Some people can, answer all questions in class. Some people cannot answer questions in class. That's not critical. What is critical is how good is your discrimination. So this ability to take the essence from what you are being told, rather than just get carried away in whether it is emotional or whether it is intellectual. Nobody is saying anything different. Everybody is saying the same thing. We did that doha from Kabir, which said, जब गुरु था सो मैं नहीं, जब मैं था सो गुरु नहीं, गुरु है सो मैं नहीं, प्रेम गली अति साखले, जामे दो ना समान. Okay, here is somebody telling you something through the heart. Prem gali ati sakhli. It's a very, very beautiful way of putting it. That road of love, it is very, very thin. Two people cannot stand there. Only one person can stand there. So he is saying Rishibhir Bahudha Gitam. This is Rishibhir Bahudha Gitam. And Tattvamasi is Brahma Sutra Padaschaiva. Hetumadbihi Vinishchitaihi. But they are both saying the same thing. One is full of reason, one is full of music, but they are both saying the same thing. You cannot, and you need both the head and the heart to move forward. Just like you don't drive your car on one wheel, right? You use all the four wheels. Similarly, your human personality has many aspects, and we can use them all to move forward. So why would we not do that? So it's not a very, very great philosophical verse, but it's an important verse because it says this, that we have always said, that use both the mind and intellect. And depending on whether you're using the mind or intellect, you will speak of it in different ways. Omkar, you're okay?
Yes.
Because we say, it is Ishwar Ichha. Ishwar Ichha, for some people, is the will of God. Ishwar Ichha, for some people, is collective vasanas, total vasanas. But whichever one you use, end result is the same thing. So don't worry. Say Ishwar Ichha. Both meanings are acceptable. Because when you say it's the will of God, basically, what are you saying? That I don't know why it happened. When you say Ishwar Ichha, what are you saying? You're saying, I don't know why it happened. Never mind. Remember the Lord. That is what is important. Okay, so it's not a very tough verse or anything, but just this concept conceptually has to be clear to everybody. The mind will tell you in a different way, the heart will tell you in a different way, the head will tell you in a different way, but they both are saying the same thing. Okay, got it? Any questions? I shouldn't say that because this lends itself to trouble. Okay? All right, so we are good. Shall we go to verse 6? महाभूतान्यहङ्कारः बुद्धिरव्यक्तमेव च इन्द्रियाणि दशैकं च पञ्चचेन्द्रियगोचराः महाभूतान्यहङ्कारः बुद्धिरव्यक्तमेव च इन्द्रियाणि दशैकं च पञ्चचेन्द्रियगोचराः महाभूतानि. Mahabhutani are the great elements. Great elements, you know, the Panchabhutas. Ahamkara. Ahamkara, ego. Buddhihi, intellect. Avyaktam, the unmanifest. He's giving us, remember what he told us? He told us, I will tell you what is the Kshetra. So he's telling you what the Kshetra is. And he's also told you that do not go by this alone because Rishibhir Bahuda Gitam. In many ways, rishis have put it. Means your classifications can be done in many ways. In different ways, people can tell you about the Kshetra. Now, somebody uses some other words, don't tell them, no, you're wrong. What Bhagavad Gita says is right. Don't do all this stuff. It's just different classifications. Mahabhutani. Mahabhutani means the Panchabhutas. Remember Panchabhutas? What are the Panchabhutas?
Earth, water, fire, wind and space.
Air and space, yeah. Can't say wind because wind assumes movement. So air, the element air. Mahabhutani is the 5 great elements. Indriya Gocharaha. Indriya Gocharaha. Indriya Go refers to the cows of the senses. And Charaha means wherever they go for grazing. This is a very interesting usage which you will find often in the scriptures where you know, there's this where you have Krishna and the cows and things like that. And you must have seen this very famous image of Krishna. In one hand, he has a stick, the stick which the cowherd boy uses to take the cows for grazing. And on the other hand, he has the Jnanamut. You've seen this, right? The stick and the Jnanamut. It stands like that, and the cows are there with him. So the cows here represent our sense objects going out into the world. All our sense objects. Why does it represent it? Because the cow does one very interesting thing. It not only goes out into the world and eats its food, goes everywhere, chews the sweet grass, but it comes back home at night and cud chews. Cud chews means it regurgitates all that food and chews it again. It's disgusting, no? For us, imagine we have to vomit it and chew it again. Sounds so terrible to us. So it's used in the sense to make us get pratipaksha bhavana towards what we are doing, which is constantly remembering what has already gone. Now, when it's gone, let it be digested and finished. Don't bring it up again and again and again, like a nagging old lady. You just let it go. It has happened. It is finished. Full stop. So, one way of living life is you send this gocharaha. You send the indriyani, the indriyas, the cows of the indriyas to go into their various fields and enjoy the objects and come back and then culture about it. So, what is the object of the eye?
Right.
Color and form. What is the object of the ear? What happened? You all fell off?
Sound.
Huh?
Sound.
Sound. Very good. What is the object of the tongue?
Taste. Taste.
Food. What is the object of what is left? The nose.
Nose, smell, fragrance,
Fragrance.
And what is the object of the skin?
touch, heat, cold.
So our senses spend 24 hours a day going into this world of sense objects. So long story short means the Indriya Gochara are the sense objects. So our Indriyas go to those sense objects, enjoy those sense objects. By enjoyment, philosophically means you enjoy it or you hate it. Both are enjoyment, because enjoyment only refers to the interaction. And then whether you love it or whether you hate it, you come back home and then you start cut-chewing about it. And all of life goes in that. So one way that you can use the Krishna within is with that stick, sending those cows out into the fields to enjoy the objects. Come back home and cut-chew. This is one way you can use the Krishna within. The other way you can use the Krishna within, the power within, is in the Jnana Mudra. The Jnana Mudra is this. Okay? The index finger and the thumb form a circle, and the other three fingers stand straight. So these three fingers represent your body, mind, intellect. This finger.
Explain once more, cut you, like what do you mean by cut you? Just a little more explanation on that.
The cow, after it eats, it regurgitates its food. It brings its food back up.
Yes, yes.
Chews it again. That's called cut chewing.
Oh. Okay.
Representative of the
Then
fact that
come back to your consciousness. You mean to like use your senses and then come back and
no, then remember what all happened. ये हुआ, वो हुआ, फिर ये हुआ, मैंने ऐसे किया, फिर उसने ऐसे बोला, फिर ऐसे हुआ, फिर वैसे हुआ. Waste of time.
तो वो नहीं करना है. Like you have to cut,
yes,
cut away from that. Oh.
That is all within the stick. The other side, the other way you can use that Krishna within, the other way you can use consciousness. There are two ways, right? One is the stick. This is the path of Preya. This is the path of Shreya. So what do you do here? Here, these three fingers represent your body, mind, and intellect. This finger represents the ego, because this is how everybody points out. You are a naughty girl, you are a naughty boy, like that. So this represents the pointing finger, represents the ego. Okay, so when the ego disassociates with the body, mind, and intellect and surrenders itself to the Atman within, the thumb represents the Atman. The thumb represents the Atman because this whole hand of ours is useless without the thumb. You won't be able to see. Close this. You won't be able to do anything. What will you be able to do? You can't write. Can you write? Can you eat? You can lick. Only Srikhand you will get to eat. You can't do very much. So this is the most important finger. So it represents the Atman. That is why even when we want to ask a question, we start with, I am the Atman. But if you do it like this, then you're saying thumbs up. So we say like this with your left hand. Okay. So when this ego disassociates from the body, mind, intellect and surrenders itself to the self within, it forms a circle representative of infinity. A circle has no beginning or end. This ego rejoins or forms or becomes that infinite being. So you have that power within you, the Krishna within, the self, the enlivening principle. We all have this. Now we can use this for prayer. Prayer means all you want to do is enjoy, and not get any enjoyment out of it, and get totally agitated and agitate yourself and agitate everybody else, and remember all the things that have happened in the past and say, aise hua, vaise hua, vaise hua. Either you waste your life like that, or you come to the Jnana Mudra. There you get away from this preoccupation of the body, mind, intellect, and surrender yourself to the self. So Krishna, the self within, gives us two paths. The path of Preya or the path of Shreya. Up to us to choose. So this Indriya Gocharaha means the cattle of our senses goes into the field of the sense objects, and these sense objects, basically, long story short, means he's talking of the sense objects. Yeah, Kalyan.
Why would you, I mean, the first one, the prayer, Krishna within us, be expressed as that? Because the self would not want us to go and just, I mean, use our senses and get enslaved to them. No, only the
Yeah, but
self is.
self doesn't want it. It is a power you use. It's like electricity. It is a power you are using. You can use electricity to put on the fan, to put on the light. You can also use electricity to electrocute somebody. So it's what you are using.
Okay, it's the symbolism is that it's the enleavening principle. You can use it in the way you.
Correct.
Okay.
Aditi, reflecting your day before sleep to sharpen the intellect does not fall in the kudju category. Firstly, you don't reflect on your day before you go to sleep, otherwise, you will not be able to sleep. You remember your day, merely remember. All you're doing is remembering this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. You're not cud chewing because you're not regurgitating anything and re enjoying anything or re-crying over anything. You're merely remembering this in the attempt to make the intellect available. While recollecting it only to make the intellect available. Okay, so you make the intellect available by this. You cannot make it grow by this. All right.
Thank you, the announcement.
Yes. Please go ahead, Bharat.
Ji. So